Early. Let's make sure we are live here. Okay. Everything is looking okay. I think. There we go. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we were properly live. Let's make sure our mods are in. Okay. Welcome to Kalari's Craft and Chat. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. And as the title says today, this is Beyond Embarrassing, the UN Disgrace from the Orange Doofus, basically. It has been a crazy week. And actually, the dumbest POTUS in US history is the actual title. But either way, I think you know what I mean. Trump has been on a toddler tangent for the last couple of months since the inauguration. But this week was a masterclass in dumbassery and fuckery. And it is beyond me how we got here when we warned people that he was following the playbook for Project 2025. And I'm going to open up with the fact that he is literally attacking groups that he feels are enemies. He has decided, as per this article, pop this up here, that he will assign executive orders to dismantle left-wing groups he claims incite violence. You know, like the violence that the people who have been murdering sitting officials and influencers like that dead bigot have been doing. But I digress. In this article, it says that Trump has said on Wednesday that he will sign an executive order to dismantle domestic terrorism networks. Probably should start with his own MAGA, just saying. Which he has previously alleged were funded by left-wing groups inciting violence against conservatives. Last I checked, and I had that list last week, it's been MAGA rays that have caused all of this violence and damage. But, you know, they can't let facts get in the way of their fiction narrative. The continuing violence from the radical left terrorists in the aftermath of the bigot's assassination must be stopped, Trump allegedly wrote on Truth Social. Because we already know that he has somebody that does it for him because he's a lazy bastard. I will be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these networks. And if you want to know what his networks are and what he's blaming, because the shooter at the ICE detention center, and I found a great short for it, but I can't find it just yet. I think it's in the pile of the guy that I'm going to feature in a few minutes. The guy legitimately shot up a bunch of innocent people and then killed himself. And there's been a running theme with these alleged left-wing assassins that end up not having any ties to the Democrats or progressives, that they never really get to live to tell their tale. And it feels like these people are either trying to martyr themselves or being literally set up to try to start a culture war with us so that he can justify full authoritarianism, which means militarized states, which means martial law, and literal terrorism from our government to average everyday citizens that don't fit their little narrative. It is dangerous. But his whole idea of attacking people is going after Antifa. He said Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization and threatened to investigate and prosecute those who financially support it. So here's a little bit of a history lesson about Antifa. There were really awful people back in the day, in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, that wanted to dictate nations. And they were fascists. Fascism is a type of autocracy that rules on fear, on hatred, on iron fist, and uses other citizens as scapegoats to herd a bunch of literal idiot-minded people into falling in line. We are currently under a fascist regime, whether people want to believe that or not. And because of that issue, we tend to get into the weeds with groups that want to show that Black Lives Matter, that LGBTQ plus rights matter, that people of color shouldn't have to live in fear in their own country, whether they immigrated here or they're born here, no matter how many generations in. And Antifa itself stands for anti-fascist. So you literally have a sitting president that says it wants to attack groups that are anti-fascism, all on the other side of his face saying he's not fascist. You can't make this shit make sense. And they keep trying to start with us. We have this video here that I'm going to play of how HBCUs, under constant harassment and death threats, are handling the wannabe Charlie Kirk Jr.'s out there who keep coming into our places of education to spout their bullshit. Let's get this fired up before we get to describing the artwork here. We are going to make this bigger and then put the sound on. Okay. Let's bop this back. Let's get the sound on.
Oh, what is going on over here?
You called the East primitive, but what? We created y'all knowledge. We created y'all science. We created y'all math. Y'all didn't do shit besides steal. Y'all didn't do anything to your... You guys didn't make shit. You guys touch children. You guys fuck them.
Showing them the door.
We walking them to the door, y'all. I don't even know how they got on campus. We gonna figure that out, but
Trespass.
I don't know. They need to get like a trespass,
Yup.
like penalty or something, because
Sending them off.
Bye,
That boy, he thought he was gonna come up like Charlie.
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Say good job, TSU.
Good job. Shout out to my school.
And that is
MAGA supporters invaded our
What is
HBCU.
going
Like
on
that.
over here?
Let me stop this for
You called the East primitive, but what? We created y'all knowledge. We created y'all science. We created y'all math. Y'all didn't do shit besides steal.
All right, there we go. And there is a trespass. There's no such thing as non-trespassing. A college might be open for tours and stuff, but if you are coming to add harassment, especially racially charged harassment, you can be trespassed. But this is what you get online with MAGA idiots trying to act like they know more than the people who actually go to college. That's going to be later. That's going to be later because I can only take so much of his nonsense. Let's get some of these videos up while I discuss what we're doing today. Greg started Knuckles, the Echidna, after we went to go see the one movie, and then he got put on the back burner for a lot of stuff. So to finish up for him, I'm going to be painting Knuckles. I'll get his art reference up in just a moment. I'm going to move him over for just a second to show that, yes, Hitsugaya got fixed. You can see I was able to paint his outfit, his white coat. Still has little specks of blue, but like I said, this was a prototype anyway. The glue gun did its magic. His Bankai is looking really nice. I still got to finish the edges, but he is fixed. So, ST Clinton, if you watch this later on, you'll see, even though we had that mishap, he's all fixed. I also did some YouTube shorts with this guy. I plan on binge watching season 2 of Dan. I've been reading the manga. I am way ahead of the anime, so no spoilers, but Okarun, Momo, and all of them are my favorite. I have several figures printed out. I've already put several figures in my friend's shop to sell. I'm planning on printing a whole lot more because I've got Arya in her acrobatic silky form. I am so excited about season 2 because it was a tearjerker for me, just like season 1. Put that one back. Then I wanted to show off my little cup that we 3D printed and these little hairpins because I've been into a lot of ancient Chinese dramas. These are more Korean based because I like the detail on this one. I did them in gold. I'm probably going to paint the flowers and leaves. Maybe, because I love the way they look in people's hair. Then I did these inspired by C-dramas because I watch a lot of those when I got free time. And the 3D printer has just been so freaking convenient. We even got this one because I use these tools to pull the supports off. And these cups only took about 4 or 5 hours a piece. And I love them. But today, and you'll hear the printer in the background, I apologize for that. But I am printing a surprise out for Greg. I did some files earlier. And I was hoping that would be what I painted today. But she's not ready yet. So I have to just have her in the background. And it'll probably be done partway during this cast because it's been printed for quite a few hours. And I will probably show the finished product on Tuesday because I'm going to spend the weekend doing the detail for that. But getting back to it, because it legit is a freaking mess. This whole week has been a legit mess and an embarrassment. But it shouldn't be surprising. Let's get these up. Yeah, there's a young, well, I call him a young man, but he's definitely an elder gentleman who I feel has had his pulse on what's going to be happening this week. And I want you to listen to his words because this nonsense cannot be ignored. Here's part one, and then we're going to play part two right behind while I start getting Knuckles prepped.
Okay, folks, next week our country changes forever, and I need you to be prepared for it. No violence. No violence. That would be the worst possible thing you could do. It would play right into their hands. And
to add to that, because I know a lot of people are like, where are all the black people at? I can't speak for everybody, but I told fuckers that I'm in protect my peace mode because they want to use us as shields. They want us to put ourselves out there on the line, not realizing that plays right into Project 2025's plans for them to say we're unruly, we're unjust, and martial law needs to be handed down. I'm going to get into more of this as we go over his abysmal UN speech. But trust and believe this is all part of their plan. And we need to be careful, black people. Don't be mules to this nonsense.
don't panic. Don't panic. I'll tell you why. So, Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. Yeah, this is the end of September. And next week, they're about to decapitate the military.
Yep.
Pete Hegseth has called a meeting of well over 100 of our top generals. That give you an idea. I think there's only like 475 top.
To interrupt him just quickly, because for those of you who don't want to take this seriously, Pete Hegseth, that idiot, is the same guy who used Signal to invite a reporter into a private confidential chat. I have to get this off of his braid. Luckily, a little soap water should help. And now, this guy who should have been impeached just for that Signal scandal is calling a meeting of Joint Chiefs of Staff, of bigwigs in the military, but specialized ones. And I'm going to let him finish so that you can get the depth of why this should be scary.
Generals and admirals, not top, but total generals and admirals. I think there's like 475. He's called a meeting of over 100 of them. They're going to decapitate the military next week. That's what's going on. They've been moving towards that. The plans that they've been putting together, they've been calling a consolidation of leadership. And this is the Nazi playbook. They already did it with ICE.
Yep.
They did it with ICE. The $100 million they put into ICE was exactly the Nazi playbook. They went out and recruited out of the militias, and that's why they wear the mask, so you can't identify where they got these people from. Yep. Now the next step is decapitate the military,
the new brown
and
shirts.
Create super generals. These are generals that they're going to have basically ad campaigns for. They're going to get the nationalists behind them, the rah nationalists behind these generals to make superstars out of them because they're sycophants that they can control, that will do anything that they're told. This will be the end of your country as you know it, but I need you to not panic, and this is why. You can stop this. You may not be able to stop these generals from being fired and removed, but you can stop this entire thing. A country of 330 million people that will not be governed cannot be governed. It's that simple. It's that simple. Protest, fight, boycott, fight economically, close your wallet, and sit your ass down. Folks, a bunch of unarmed Indians ran the most powerful empire at the time, the British, out of India by simply sitting their asses down. You can do that too. You can do that too. Most of these major corporations run on loans. If you just stop spending, they fold.
Exactly. This whole Kimmel fallout should have taught people that. A lot of us canceled our Disney Plus. I was honest, it was going to get the cut in my household anyway because we really wasn't watching it, so it didn't justify the price. And now our bundle with Max is way cheaper. But when you think about how so many people will cave, like I went back on social media the other day and saw this really popular poster that was like, oh, praise Disney, we're going back. And it's like, you didn't even give them a chance. And not only that, they're literally price hiking because they expected a lot of you fake ass bitches to cave and capitulate and come right back the moment Kimmel was back. None of you seem to care that the only way for them to understand that accepted fascism in any way, shape, or form needs to hurt them where it hurts them the most. You can't do it. You aren't built for this. And that is why I'm so proud of my people right now, because we're built for this. I don't know any of my friends that go into Target anymore. I don't know any of my friends that are bumping Disney Plus or any of these fucking nonsense. A lot of us are really showing with our wallet that you are not going to put us in a country that puts our lives in danger by a doofus who wants to call us his enemies. Let's see if there's any more to this before we start the next one.
Do you understand where the power is? You have the power. Use it, and use it wisely. Any violence plays into their hands. Okay, folks, next week our country changes forever. Okay. And I need you to be prepared for it. No violence. So let's no violence. That would be the worst possible thing you could do.
He had a part 2 of this. And I believe it's this one.
Well, yeah, the country's going to change next week forever. And this is part 2. We talked about them decapitating the military in next week's meeting at Quantico. But no, that actually wasn't the worst of it. I didn't think he'd handle all of it in one shot, so I broke it up into 2. Stick with me. Do not panic. We're going to be okay, and we're going to stop this, but do not be violent. Violence plays right into their hands.
Now who listen he's talking to. He ain't talking to black
Decapitating
people.
The military isn't the worst of it. It isn't. You remember those boats they blew up on no more evidence than just trust me, bro?
Yep, I did.
That was a war crime. So to make it okay, the Republicans, led by a guy by the name of Corey Mills, has decided they're going to pass legislation that makes that okay. Trump, on nothing more than trust me, bro, can now kill people. Really. That the legislation is so vague that, yeah, all he has to do is say you're an enemy and kill you, and no evidence necessary. Just trust me, bro. I want to remind...
To interrupt him, I remember the night of November 6th, finally getting to bed after midnight and having a terrible dream. I woke up in tears. It was that dream that motivated Greg to, work with me on getting him and kiddos updated passports and renewing mine, even though I still had till the end of this year to get my new one in. We got it done early because I had dreamed that they would start rounding up American citizens they deemed enemies, having these mock kangaroo trials, and we were hung. And while I don't want to be a martyr, period, I don't. I have things I want to do in this life still. I would not want to live in America that continues to behave like this. It's beyond embarrassing at this point. And that dream was so visceral that I felt nauseous because it could really fucking happen. And now, with this meeting that they're doing at Quantico and with these legislations that they're pushing through, it is that nightmare is becoming a reality. And it's sick.
Mind you that Hitler didn't break the law.
Nope.
Nothing Hitler did was illegal.
Not at all.
The legislature made it all okay.
Yep.
And that's the same game plan they're following.
The dude said,
folks, Martin Niemöller's poem is not that long. And they will come for you. And this is for our right-wing MAGA people out there. And I know you're getting your jollies off on social media about how they're attacking us liberals and saying we're terrorists and we're mentally deranged and that we need to be locked up. I just want to remind you that when they come for our guns, they're taking yours too.
They can't risk anyone.
Just like when they said that they're only going to arrest criminal immigrants, but they ran around grabbing anybody they could get their hands on.
Including children.
Yeah, it's just like that. Just like that. Well, yeah, the country's going to change next.
And this is stuff that our news should be literally shouting to the rooftops, but they're not. Because, they don't want to go after her, Trump. They think it's quite okay that this wannabe fascist dictator run us into the ground. And it is not the worst in his idiocy this week. Let me bop this gentleman down. This clip is of the doofus who I honestly feel couldn't pass a cognitive test if he cheated. Describing where a bank is. And I'm not going to spoil things for you. I want you to hear in his own moronic words where he thinks a bank is. Let me get this video up and playing for you because I can't even say people wouldn't believe that. Anybody who's ever listened to this idiot knows. Also, let me get the reference of Knuckles up for you guys. There we go. That's what he's hopefully going to look like after I'm done working on him. I've got plans. But let's get this video fired up because just ingesting him is so toxic. And I feel like yelling as he talks detoxifies me. Oh, let's see. There we go.
Oh, Federal Reserve, my friend.
Posted
Too late. He's too late.
You're considering suing Jay Powell. Can you update us on your thinking about that and tell us where you are in your search for a new chair?
Well, he took a building that could have been painted and fixed, like we're going to fix this building for very little money. And that was in better shape.
What the fuck is he even talking about? What is he even going on about? Took a building for little money. Everything's money with this man. He does not care.
It was right next to a thing called the Potomac River. The beautiful Potomac River. That means lots of water. And the water is right under the building. And they decided to build a basement under the building in the Potomac River. So in order to do that, you need the biggest pumps that God ever created. And they...
Okay. To speak dummies, because this is exactly what this is. A person asked them about the Federal Reserve chairman being potentially replaced. This idiot decided that he wanted to talk about the Federal Reserve building. And according to the sitting president of the United States currently, our Federal Reserve building has an underwater basement that has pumps that protect the money. You can't make this shit up. But on top of that, if something like this was true, which I highly doubt it is, because it would be a complete waste of money to build, And with an idiot like this, if it was real, he just gave away a literal confidential secret. He just breached literal national security by saying that our Federal Reserve has an underwater bunker protected by pumps. Is this a signal to somebody to rob us? Or is this just a doddering 70-plus-year-old man who shouldn't have been in our fucking White House? Whatever you want to believe. I believe that he shouldn't be allowed to say anything. Where the fuck are his handlers? Let's get this back up. It's already irking me.
That's enough because it's the Potomac River. If the pump were bigger than this room, you couldn't pump it. But they tried, and they've been building a basement. And I said, why did you want to build a basement? I thought it would be a good idea, sir. A basement is the least valuable floor in a building. I know a lot about real estate. The least valuable thing is the basement. And you don't build a basement under a building that...
Okay. The fact that he thinks the least valuable thing is a basement when he's only really lived in ridiculous mansions and overpriced apartments in New York. I can tell you, as somebody who has lounged in the basement, who loves a laundry room in my basement, who had a nice house in New York with a very nice finished basement, basements are very versatile, very valuable, especially in times of storms or just when you want to have a gathering and not have fuckers mess up your actual house. So I don't know what this old rambling idiot's going on about, but the fact that he's anti-basement shouldn't shock anybody because he's fucking dumb.
Is 2 feet above the river that's right next door. You know, it's right near the river. People don't realize the river's right out their window. And that's the beginning. They did just a terrible job. They, instead of, I could take a ceiling like this, they'd rip out the ceiling because they see a crack. Let's rip out the ceiling. And I would fix the crack and I would paint the ceiling. And under the ceiling, they put the most incredible protective material. They go out by 3/4 inch, brand new, gorgeous 3/4 inch plywood and sheetrock, hardened sheetrock. And they had it all over the building.
Is
so
it
if a little
painful for you yet?
piece of
Because
flake came down. But the problem is when they took the ceiling down and it would hit, they spent millions of dollars on protective material that you didn't have to spend anything. He could have done that job for $25 million, and they spent $3.1 billion. He said 2.7, but it's really 3.1.
Okay.
They just don't want to include one of the buildings in the deal.
Okay.
But it's going to be much more than that. And I think he'll be long gone by the time it finishes because they've got a long way to go.
This is so
and then I hear they
stupid.
want to hire 3,000 economists. What are they going to do?
Who are they? What is he rambling about? But this is legitimately not even the worst thing he did this week speech-wise. Not the worst. And I can only take so much in, so we are going to get ready to go to this. I want to go to the news one first. Not to offend Anonymous. With this Daily Mirror's deranged really highlighting how ridiculous this whole thing was. But this is a French news station, and don't worry, use only English-speaking illiterates. It is in English, describing the horrible UN speech that Trump gave, and then I will follow it up with the anonymous response to this ridiculous UN speech. Let's get this fired up and queued up, because it is unbelievable how ignorant this man is and how he has embarrassed us on the global stage. So let's get this fired up right now. Let's full screen this.
Litsa has been looking at how the papers are covering it.
Yes, Stuart, and as you can imagine, it's a cover story for many international newspapers as well. Let's take a look at British, the Daily Mirror here, that calls the speech, quote, deranged. It summarizes the speech that was 56 minutes long. It talked about climate, migrants, Gaza, but also escalators, marble floors, and teleprompters, and may I add, chaos. Then we have a French left-wing Libération here with a very opinionated headline that says, quote, Trump is pissing off the world, and the paper calls the speech staggering, violent, and incoherent. Moving then to Spanish daily El País that estimates that Trump's aim is to blow up the rules of the international game, and Germany's Die Zeit agrees with that. The magazine says that Trump's accusations are becoming, quote, crazier every minute.
Yep.
On the sidelines of the assembly, Trump also said that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft violating their airspace.
That's right, Stuart. And in the case of Denmark, authorities there have not identified the drones, the drone incursion earlier this week, but local press is writing about it, of course. And here, a Danish paper, Politiken, reports that the country has warned of the risk of hybrid attacks from Russia. And the paper then asks, is Denmark sufficiently prepared for war? And then an analysis in another Danish paper, Borsen, says that due to Denmark's unconditional and total support for Ukraine, Denmark is an obvious target for Russia's hybrid warfare.
Some religious news for us now. In Syria, Christian villages are reopening their churches.
Yeah, that's right. And that's happening in northwestern Syria, La Croix reports, where Christian villages are being revived 10 months after the end of the Assad regime.
All right. Now, I get why they wanted to talk about that, because it does tie into why the idiot was like, you've got to fight with Russia, which I don't know when him and old Putin had a fallout. But apparently, you know, a lot of these fallen regimes are still causing issue. And one of the things that he made a point of saying in that rambling, incoherent mess, which we'll hear more of during the anonymous video, is that these countries should just blow up anything they suspect to be Russian attack drones. And I can't understand his level of idiocy, because all that would do is cause unnecessary chaos. You can't tell which things are Russian attack drones. So the fact that he's saying stuff like this is already fucking dangerous, but he's saying it to countries that are way smarter than him that will not fall for this obvious let's bait people. But we're going to go from this video, because while the other world news is interesting, I do want to really highlight and focus on the most embarrassing UN speech I've ever heard in my entire life. We're going to leave this Daily Mirror up that says he's deranged, because it really does fit. And let's get this anonymous video playing, because like so many of us, they're fed up with this bullshit too.
To face the echo that refuses to be silenced when power lies and bullies its way through the world. I'm not here for fame. I'm here because truth matters, because humiliation on the world stage has consequences, and because someone has to say out loud what happened when Donald Trump walked into the United Nations, got laughed at, and then chose to attack world leaders in a meltdown of ego and rage. This is the full story, with every detail the powerful would rather you forget. Yesterday, I watched what I honestly thought was the worst press conference of Trump's entire term so far. I didn't think the bar could drop any lower. Then I woke up and saw he was speaking in front of the UN, and immediately I knew what was coming, because he always does the same thing. He embarrasses us. He lived down to that expectation. He could barely read half the time. He was melting down, and after the room laughed at him, he pivoted to doing what he does best. He went on the attack. It was a disaster speech, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how it collapsed in real time. But since you're here with me, one quick thing before we dive all the way in. Leave a like on this video, and if you haven't yet hit subscribe, those two little taps go a long way towards supporting work that calls out this kind of nonsense. Before the laughter, before the shouting, and the attacks, where did he start? With a grievance. He began by whining that he didn't get to build the UN building. he actually took the world's stage and said, in essence,
Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex.
He can't go 10 seconds without huffing his own fart fumes. He is his own best cheerleader and he still sucks at it.
he remembered it so well. He said he'd do it for $500 million and everything would be beautiful.
I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything.
As somebody whose grandpa was into real estate in New York, a lot of people laughed at the fact that this man really thought he could be serious in the real estate game because he was an idiot and a slumlord and could not deliver. That $500 million would have been not only pocketed, but it would have been garbage. And he knows it. Everybody knows it.
It would be beautiful.
He bragged he'd give them marble floors while they would give them terza. He'd give them mahogany walls while they would give them plastic.
Beautiful. I used to talk.
And who the fuck needs marble walls? It's a new UN building. It's not your tacky towers. Good Lord. Or what you're doing to our White House.
Talk about I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazza. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic.
But he said they went in another, more expensive direction. And what they got was a far inferior product.
But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product.
He concluded that they didn't know what they were doing when it came to construction, that their building concepts were so wrong.
And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction and that their building concepts were so wrong.
Are we being serious right now? I keep trying not to ask that, because
I'm afraid we are. This is what some people wanted. A lot of us didn't, but a lot more stayed home thinking it wouldn't be this serious. And now we're all exposed to idiocy on a global stage.
of course, with him it's always ridiculous. He's not serious about governing, but he is dead serious about nursing a personal complaint. Think about it. He's standing before the leaders of the planet, and the first thing on his mind is a contract he didn't win years ago. That's our president, somehow. If cognitive decline had a stage cue, it would be this weird opening. His narcissism has only gotten louder, sharper, and somehow even more fragile. It's painful because we all know how the rest of the world perceives us through moments like this. A man with a little crybaby attitude who wants to cosplay as a tough guy while whining the whole time. Then he tried the tough guy bit. He said,
I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down.
And he launches into Washington.
And by the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's a totally, after 12...
A, no, there were plenty of states with higher crime rates. B, watch John Oliver. Watch the clip from about 3 weeks ago where he shows the young man just minding his business on his stoop while a bunch of his ridiculous rogues went around bothering people and then trying to peacefully explain why they needed to police a neighborhood where nothing was going down. It's fucking ridiculous. He's a dummy.
12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen.
Wow.
He boasted.
My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard. And the National Guard...
The National Guard are not your people. They serve the entire country, you
took care of business, and they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails.
Wow.
Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant.
No, thank you.
And we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle.
No one's
we'll
ever
walk
had
right
to go
over
by
there
an
from the White
armor-plated
House.
vehicle.
Embarrassment. That's the only word that fits. He wants to act tough in front of world leaders who do not respect him because they've watched him fold in the face of authoritarians. Donald, do you really think you can roll out the red carpet for Putin, bring him onto U.S. soil, be his little baby, then come here and rant about calling in the National Guard in D.C. and expect everyone to walk out saying, wow, that Trump guy is so tough? Scary, even. No. You capitulate again and again to dictators. Your tariffs don't work. No one wants to negotiate with you because they know you're weak. And now you're bragging about being a failed developer with bankruptcies while telling us you sent the National Guard after, I don't even know who in D.C.
Innocent people. And on top of that, it's 7 bankruptcies and 2 failed casinos. Literal fucking casinos. I just, it's beyond me. I don't understand how we got here.
Monuments. Were you afraid Mr. Lincoln was going to get up and leave? Then the teleprompter went out. And if you've watched him even a little, you know that's the last thread holding anything together. He said,
and I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working.
I bet he did. Look at that face. Gross.
I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Sure, speak from the heart. Meanwhile, we all saw yesterday's whole mind acid ace, Minifen pronunciation journey. Yeah, that one. And it was a fiasco. He had to read from notes, and we know he doesn't do well with text that isn't printed in size 36 font. He stumbled for the rest of the speech, but the one thing he didn't fumble was the off-the-cuff nastiness he loves most. He went straight for other countries.
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you.
Of all the xenophobic ridiculousness. But I'm going to let it go on, even though this is really painful for me.
I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
Wow.
That's not diplomacy. That's a barstool rant dressed up in a suit. Your countries are going to hell is not a plan. It's a tantrum. That's definitely how you bring the world together. Right, by telling them they're doomed. And he didn't stop. He pivoted to London and decided to swing at the mayor of one of America's closest allies.
And I have to say, I look at London where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law.
What?
But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. They cannot.
What happens when you let the biggest
this cannot be sustained.
What does that even mean? He doesn't know. He just knows it sounds scary. This is how he appears to everyone, flinging bigotry and buzzwords and hoping it lands. And let's be honest, part of why he hates the mayor of London is exactly what you think it is. But there's more. That mayor has been a staunch advocate for the Palestinian people. And we've just seen Canada and France recognize a Palestinian state, something Trump will never do, because he refuses to recognize the humanity of the children being slaughtered, including with weapons paid for by our tax dollars. Understand why he's so furious at London's mayor. Yes, there's racism, but there's also the fact that the mayor calls out what's happening in Gaza, while Trump either doesn't care or is too busy actively participating in policy that fuels the catastrophe. He doesn't care.
But, you know, he's wanted to ding President Biden and Kamala Harris, the VP, for their stances, even though Kamala Harris, then VP Harris, said she would have called for an immediate ceasefire. And yet, all of these people, now crickets, or worse yet, on your TikToks, begging black people to save you from your self-inflicted idiocy. This is why I, and many others, are in protect our peace mode. I'm personally in get the fuck out of my face mode at this point. Because I am really seriously over people asking for help when we didn't need to get to this point. But it's not surprising too much anymore because so many selfish people enabled this thinking that they were going to benefit. And now they see how bad it is. They want to cry to the people who warned you about this to help.
Care where kids are in the world. If they're dying, it doesn't register. That's who he is. And through all of that, what's really on his mind? Windmills. He actually...
Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables.
What?
By the way, they're a joke.
They're
they
not
don't work.
A joke.
They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great.
We've literally created planes that can go off of EV energy. EV energy is way cleaner than fossil fuels, way more expensive to initially make, but cheaper in the long haul. The problem with it is while gas is seemingly cheaper to harvest, it is not an infinite resource, and it ends up costing us more in the end environmentally. But you can't talk to a 70-year-old who last week, as I covered, went on and on about fucking shipbuilding.
Wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad. Wow. So expensive to operate.
It's clownish. I know this last election was, in so many ways, about affordability. Trump says immigration helped him win. But I'm begging you in 2028. Can we please think about wanting our lives back from politics? And I don't mean disengage. I mean whether there's a Democrat or a Republican in the White House, we should be engaged citizens. I've seen...
Not only that, but my brain goes, we did this in 2020. We literally came out to vote in 2020 because the first round of chaos was enough. And yes, COVID did help that because, like I said, so many of us buried loved ones because of that asshole. Yet, some people wanted to double down. Some people really thought, well, he was bad before, but how much worse can he get? And this administration has literally said, okay, bet. Okay, we will show you just how nasty, violent, ignorant, and just hateful we can be. And it's not going to stop until a Civil War 2.0. That is what he is pushing for. That's what he's pushing towards. And that's what his fragrant base seem to want to happen. These same people that'll tell you that they're red-blooded American, but sees nothing wrong with a sitting president using the military as his personal guard, which is not their job. These same people would have freaked if a Democrat did that. But they're hypocrites. The whole entire lot of them. Because they'll look away or literally openly support this dictatorship, which goes against all of our American principles, but they won't support a president that brings us stability. Because, they might make people that don't look like us feel better or try to give them an even playing field. It's fucking ridiculous.
In that protest sign everywhere. If Kamala were president, we'd be at brunch. Funny, yeah. But that can't be our approach. Even with a Democratic president, we've got to stay engaged. We've just got to stop living in a constant state of crisis. Trump makes it impossible not to live there because he's a never-ending storm of chaos. And my God, I want normalcy back. Then he got to Ukraine.
In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures.
He doesn't ever shut up, does he? He just keeps going and going and going. Threats, boasts, fantasies. He wants to be feared. He wants to be obeyed. And yet he keeps proving he's the weakest guy in the room. I'm tired. After watching that press conference yesterday, and then this spectacle today, I don't know what else to say, except I'm exhausted. Exhausted by the complaints and the lies, exhausted by the rage and the nonsense. But we're not done, because he had one more delusion to sell.
Others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable.
Oh my God.
You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years. Two of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years.
While he's making up numbers and imaginary wars in his head, I can tell you right now, the only conflict that has been ongoing besides certain regimes that I don't really want to stoke up because I just talked about stuff last week about what's going on in Korea. But legitimately, the only conflict that has been ongoing for centuries, well, almost a century now, definitely close to 100 years, is what's going on between Palestine and Israel. He did not help with that. He's helped the Israelis with funding and weapons to cause mass genocide. And all these people, oh, Hamas. I'm not on the side of fucking Hamas. But I am on the side of not seeing fucking bloody children, not seeing famine being done as they try to destroy a whole population of people who were fucking there first. Miss me with your outrage. I don't care anymore.
I ended 7 wars.
No, you didn't.
Really? At this point, can someone just say, "Hey, Donald, we'll give you the Nobel Peace Prize if you just go away"? Send him the little medal if he'll pack it in.
No.
Honestly, President Obama, Barack, I'm pleading with you. Mail him yours. Do a little trade. You finish his term, he gets...
Why do us black people have to sacrifice? Not saying that I disagree with Anonymous that probably giving the little baby a trinket would calm him down a little bit, but you don't negotiate with dictators, man. And you sure as hell don't give him something that he'll brag about forever. This is a man who took somebody else's Purple Hearts. So no, I don't agree with giving him somebody else's well-earned Nobel Peace Prize. Sorry, not sorry.
Gets the prize. If only it were that easy. But it isn't. So we keep going. We keep calling this administration out. Some people won't like it. I hope you do, because the alternative is silence. If you want to support this hit, subscribe, leave a like.
And yes, please subscribe, leave a like. Anonymous is on YouTube. They have social medias. I've seen them on Blue Sky. I believe there's some on Spoutable. I am no longer on Twitter, but I'm pretty sure they're still on there too. I know people are like, oh, they're a group of anonymous hackers. What do they know? They know a lot more than this idiot that was rambling on about saving us from 70-year-plus wars and other bullshit that came out the trap jaw that is his fucking pie hole. All I know is that we are not in good times. Between what's going on at Quantico this week, which should really have been on more major news networks, but I'm not shocked it isn't, because it seems like even our press is just giving into this because this will bring them ratings. This will get people buzzing. And with more of us turning the news off, because we don't want to support people that aren't going to fight against fascism, which aren't going to strive for the truth and justice that they've told us over and over the media is supposed to be about. As they continue to kowtow to this fascist administration that are literally training militia to hide themselves while they round up innocent citizens who might have immigrated here without even really investigating if they have the proper paperwork. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people acting like we are not in bad times, that we are not living in a dictatorship. But what I'm even more tired of is being embarrassed on a global scale, of watching countries that used to at least have a modicum of respect for us now look at us with pity or at worst contempt. We didn't have to get to this point. We didn't have to let hatred win. We didn't have to let laziness and apathy with your political investment get us here. But a lot of yous did that. And some of yous have the nerve to be acting like, well, we're all in this together now. We've got to fight. No, it's those of yous who caused this that really need to evaluate what you did wrong first. Because you're talking to the wrong people. There are those of us who still understand the assignment and are going to do our best. But we can only do so much for this country that already puts our lives in jeopardy as it is for just existing while black. And now existing while brown. And while some of you want to take to TikTok and saying, we need unity, why do you hate us? It's not about hating you. It's about being tired of bailing idiots out who will then again turn around. And, we saw all those music videos that I will vote for Donald Trump. And now you're crying on TikTok that nobody's helping you. Helping you with what? Your self-inflicted harm? I feel like too many people play these games. You play the stupid game, you're getting the stupid prize. And what I can't appreciate is how many of you motherfuckers are still whining for help when you could have did the most and did the least. I didn't forget those assholes in Dearborn. The ones that were like, we'll never have a woman president. We're in Dearborn. We're going to vote for Trump. He promised us he would handle the Palestine situation. Oh, he handled it. His first weekend, he was talking about turning it into a tourist area, that he was going to help BB bomb them into hell and then make the area into resorts. And anybody who survives, they'll get jobs in their own home, but they won't be actual citizens. They'll just be workers that could be displaced at any moment. This is insanity to me that it got this far. But a lot of you thought you were being smart, and now you've got your stupid prize. And on a national and global stage, this man has been a constant embarrassment. So what can we do? I said it last week. I won't stop saying it as the midterms come up. The best thing you can do is vote like all of our lives depend on it. So that we get less articles from the fucking Daily Mirror of all places calling our U.S. president deranged, detailing his rambling, incoherent shakedown of global leaders, of naming his price for buildings that are already built and didn't want him in the first place, of making up wars in his head and saying that he's the savior and that he stopped 30, 40-year-old wars. When I need to remind you, like I did last Craft and Chat, when he told pregnant women to just tough it out, this is a motherfucking draft dodger who used bone spurs to get out of fighting for his country. So if anybody needs to tough it out, it is him and his ilk, who your days are numbered. This is not a threat of violence. This is a threat of firing. Like your man baby likes to do. He loves saying you're fired in The Apprentice. And now it's on us American people to fire this man permanently. We shouldn't have to put up with a president that behaves like this. It is an embarrassment. And it is indicative of the lack of education, empathy, and emotional intelligence of the American populace. And no, not all of us, but if you felt targeted by my words right now, hit dogs, holler, bitches. It is beyond me how many of you will complain about the prices of stuff. You're the same idiots that were like, the price of eggs is too high. We got to get rid of President Biden because of that. Oh, look at his cognitive decline. Yet you listen to this insane rambling with me. This insane rambling is somebody who should never have gotten into a White House the second time. Shouldn't have even gotten in the first time. Because I remember detailing him mocking a disabled reporter, slandering a Gold Star family. His first term was full of disrespect to a military widow in an operation that we still don't understand why it went down. I was reminded Greg yesterday of the missing plutonium during his first presidency. And now, when I open with them literally saying that the Federal Reserve Building has an underground corridor with pumps, he could literally, even though I seriously don't believe that's the case, but if it was, he just told a bunch of people a national secret. But some of you MAGA, you just want to ignore it because he makes you feel good for your ignorance and your idiocy and your hatred. And yous are going to be the end of our country, whether you want to accept that or not. And the saddest part of all of this is it didn't have to be this way. And some of you should just learn empathy And some of you should just learn sympathy and decency and how to just live your life and not act like somebody you probably will never know, never meet. Or even if you meet them, wouldn't harm you just because you got these irrational fears from stuff like Fox Propaganda Channel. If you could just live your lives being the good Christians you claim to be, instead of the cosplay Christians you actually are, we would get in a better place. But y'all, I'm going to finish up Knuckles, finish up Greg's surprise. I heard the 3D printer stop, so I've got supports to pull off and a lot of painting to do on that. I will be back on Tuesday, hopefully, with an all-new crafting chat. I am just beyond tired, just like Anonymous said, with all this garbage. I'm beyond exhausted with our country, watching it in real time go down the drain. It didn't have to be, but we need to get on board before it becomes unsavable. I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you next week. Have a great weekend for those of you that only watch these. I'll be on Sunday for D&D, but that is mostly just me uploading, us playing live on our new servers. Either way, you have a great weekend. See y'all on the next Crafting Chat.